What is going on YouTube? Running on Sports back here with another video. Today is our weekly college football news update video. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe, leave a like down below, share this to your friends who love college football. Last night the Baylor Bears took home the national championship for the college basketball world. A great win for them, great season. Ended Gonzaga's perfect season and they blew them out of the water, really. It wasn't close at all. The closest it was a 10-point lead at halftime. So congratulations to the Baylor Bears. I personally was rooting for them in that game, and I did think they would win. And so, wasting no time, if you have not, please follow our socials as well. @runandgun_sports on Instagram and Running Gun Sports on TikTok. And let's get right into the video. So USC lands Memphis wide receiver Taj Washington, transfers to USC. In the 2020 season, his freshman season, he had 43 receptions, 743 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 17.3 yards per catch. Very good stats right there for just a freshman. And with USC losing Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's a big loss for that team. He's definitely the best receiver out of that wide receiving core at USC. But picking up Taj Washington, and he's a young guy too. They'll have him for a couple of years. And so I just think it's a really huge pickup for the Trojans. Former Arkansas head coach Chad Morris takes job at Allen High School in Allen, Texas, the same high school that quarterback Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals went to, and a very, very strong football program, a powerhouse. Kyler Murray had won three state championships there with the Allen Eagles, and they have some of the nicest facilities at the high school level. And per 24/7 Sports, Morris, quote, declined NFL jobs to take this job with the Allen Eagles. Chad Morris has had jobs at the high school football level in the state of Texas. He coached Lake Travis, another very good high school football team in the state of Texas, to consecutive undefeated seasons. So we'll see how the former Razorbacks and former SMU Broncos coach does do at the high school football level. Walter Nolan, the top uncommitted player for the class of 2022, announces his top 8 schools: LSU, Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, Florida, Oregon, Ohio State, and USC. 4-star wide receiver Shaz Preston is down to 7 schools: LSU, Alabama, Georgia, Miami, Texas, Mississippi State, USC. He is 6'1", 190 pounds. 4-star safety out of Buford, Georgia, Jake Pope announces his top 8 schools: Alabama, Notre Dame, Auburn, North Carolina, Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. 4-star cornerback Kamari Rogers announces his top 6 schools: Miami, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State. Chris Marshall, 4-star wide receiver from Missouri City, Texas, announces his top 8 schools: Oregon, Texas A&M, Alabama, Jackson State, USC, Arizona State, LSU, and Auburn. And Jackson State, some people are probably wondering, where the heck is Jackson State at? It's in Jackson, Mississippi, and why is it in a 4-star wide receiver's top 8 recruiting list? Well, because Deion Sanders, a lot of people know who Deion Sanders is the head coach at that college right now. They are playing games right now due to COVID-19, postponing their season to the spring. But Deion Sanders has picked up 2 out of the top 300 ESPN recruits, which for a Power 5 FBS team is not very good. But for a FCS team, that's unheard of and probably never happened before. And Deion Sanders, a lot of people love Deion Sanders, and who wouldn't want to be coached by him? But the playing level that they face is not as good as you would play at the SEC level. Right now, Jackson State is 3-1 in their division right now, or in overall. So we'll see if they can land Chris Marshall, 4-star wide receiver from Missouri City, Texas. 4-star athlete Azera Thomas announces his top 8 schools: Clemson, Florida, Georgia Tech, Alabama, LSU, Louisville, Oklahoma, Miami. 5-star safety Kamari Wilson from IMG Academy in the state of Florida announces his top 12 schools: Texas A&M, Florida State, University of South Florida, Florida, Miami, Georgia, Mississippi State, Texas, Auburn, South Carolina, Tennessee, and LSU. So we'll see if he stays in the state of Florida from where he is from, or whether he'll go a bit farther out. None of those schools are too far out, all in the southern half of the southeastern half of the country. So we'll see whether he leaves the state of Florida or stays there. All-American safety Tyke Smith transfers to the University of Georgia from West Virginia. A big pickup for Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart, with his time at Georgia, has done pretty good at producing NFL talents, but he hasn't been producing defensive backs, and so Tyke Williams has a really good shot to be, Tyke Smith has a really good shot to be an NFL talent. He was an All-American at West Virginia, so we'll see how well he can do in the Southeastern Conference with his new team, the Georgia Bulldogs. Four-star wide receiver DeAndre Moore Jr. from Las Vegas, Nevada, announces his top 12 schools: Miami, Texas, Arizona State, Georgia, Florida State, Alabama, USC, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Notre Dame, and Florida. Five-star safety Jacoby Matthews announces his top 6 schools: LSU, Florida, USC, Arizona State, Texas, and Clemson. Switching gears now, we're now going to be talking about the Clemson Tigers did have a spring game over the weekend, and we're going to kind of break that down a little. So getting right into it, the defense, just the whole team in general really had some injury problems, and they've had injury problems before the game, during the game, and after the game. I mean, just lack of, players. The depth is really going to be one of this team's problems for this year, and it'd be really a shame for this team, who has been recruiting so well lately, to not go as far due to injuries. There's also been a few COVID issues that have caused players to miss some spring time, and so Landon Zanders and KJ Henry have been out all spring due to injuries, and Dabo Sweeney's extremely frustrated about it, and he says that those guys need to improve, and that's got to be extremely frustrating for those guys. They're both upperclassmen. For them to not be there to help your young freshman team, it's gonna hurt quite a bit, because at Clemson it's the dawn of a new era, really. I mean, you lose Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence, and last year those guys combined had 48 of 64 of last year's touchdowns, and so truthfully, it's a new era for sure. They've lost a lot of players, and they really didn't end on the greatest note last year at all. I mean, getting blown out by Ohio State by 28 points, and so it's just not good. And it's a very young team, and if your upperclassmen are injured, that's just really not going to help. And just based off the spring game, overall it was just super duper sloppy. The defense struggled a lot, and especially in the first drive, they went down, the first team offense, and had scored, and within 4 minutes, easy, boom, 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 down the field, a lot of running plays, and then they kind of opened it up a little more with their passing, and I think that they should have stuck into the run game, even though I know it's just a spring game against their own team, trying to see what works and what doesn't, but the run game was working pretty well, I'd say, and the passing game was not very efficient at all, with some inexperienced quarterbacks in there. The defensive line looks very strong though, and I think that was good. There was a lot of mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, a lot of fumbles, especially on special teams, and a lot. But I think that the defensive line, Rook Arthuro had 3 sacks, and Dabo Sweeney was really very highly praising him, and so very promising for this next upcoming season. Just a young team in general, really. I mean, they have a lot of these guys coming in that are either freshmen or sophomores, and your starting quarterback is now a sophomore, DJ Ungalale, and so we'll see how these guys mesh together. I mean, they're all coming from different backgrounds, different stories, and sometimes it works out well, sometimes it doesn't. But I guess at the end of the day, the good news is, if it doesn't end up working out for this Clemson Tigers team, that they'll have a couple of years to fix it, and I do believe that Dabo Swinney has done a very good job with the other classes. I mean, he lost when Deshaun Watson left, and that great team. You know, a lot of people didn't expect Clemson to do much, and he comes in and brings another once in a decade quarterback and takes his team to a national title and wins a national title. So I think that Dabo Swinney knows what he's doing, and I think that it's spring. I mean, they won't play for another few months, so that at the end of the day, I think that you got to look at it as that it's going to be a lot of rebuilding from here for the Clemson Tigers, but it's also, that you have a lot of time to work on what your team is struggling on and what not. Xavier Thomas played very well, the number 2 cornerback on that Clemson Tigers depth chart. Right now, they are Xavier Thomas, defensive lineman. We're working on trying to lose weight for him. He is trying to get him back in his freshman body, trying to get him to lose some weight. So we'll see if Dabo Swinney and Brent Venables will do that. Brent Venables it's really a shocker that he's still around at the Clemson team as a defensive coordinator. He could probably go coach Power 5 at any ACC or SEC school that's struggling right now who needs a new coach. Surprisingly, he's stuck in with the Clemson team. Fred Davis, the hip flexor, was a no-go, the number 2 cornerback on the depth chart for Clemson. Like I said, just a lot of injuries for this team. You don't want that at all, and especially this early in the season, it kind of tells you that some of your guys are either out of shape or just it really hasn't been that long since they've last played, but a lot of injuries. It just looks like they're not totally ready for the season yet, which is, obviously no one's quite ready to start the season in a week or so because they have a few months still. But also, they need to get this injury problem fixed out, or else they're going to have a long year of playing a lot of young guys. DJ Ungalele, the first opening drive, as I mentioned, they did go down and score a touchdown. He passed a touchdown pass to his former high school teammate from St. John Bosco, and Bo Collins, tight end, who's going to be very, very good talent coming in. DJ Ungalele got him to come out to come play at college level with them, and the connection's already there. You can already tell he looks for him a lot of the times out there on the field, and I think that overall it's going to be a great fit for those two guys. And high school teammates, they looked really well. DJ Ungalele, though, in my opinion, he was inaccurate a lot of the times. They passed the ball quite a bit, really. Both teams, inaccurate throws, just some overthrows as well. So, I mean, and he really took some bad sacks, just some poor decision making, which you would expect from a young quarterback. And I think that if by the time the season rolls around, hopefully he'll be ready, because they weren't even going game speed, and he was taking some bad sacks and just missing some guys on some easy balls. But at the same time, he has no problem setting his feet and throwing a ball 60 yards deep. We saw him do that a couple times in the game. So I think that he's just got to develop, but it's got to be at a way quicker rate. If he's a freshman, it's a different story, but he's also a sophomore, set behind Trevor Lawrence, and I don't think the chemistry between DJ Ungalele and Trevor Lawrence was really there, as you'd see, like when Jalen Hurts was backing up Tua Tagovailoa. You saw those guys hugging it out on the sidelines, high-fiving and whatnot. But these guys, I just don't see that from those two guys, and that may be where the drop-off sort of is. I don't think DJ Ungalele has a shot to be remotely close to Trevor Lawrence in talent. He's a pocket passer, and he's nothing more than that. He has to have his feet set in stone for him to throw the ball. He cannot throw on the run, and it shows when he's being chased around. He'll have a tough time playing in the ACC, even though the ACC is a very poor conference. But they're gonna have some good defensive linemen up there, up against his offensive linemen, and he's gonna have to learn how to throw on the run. And right now, he really cannot do that at all. He's not a big runner either. He's a big body, but he cannot run. He's not very quick or anything like that. But like I said, he has to be set in stone, his feet, and he can't throw other than that. So we'll see what happens. The defensive line, as I mentioned, looked really strong, 3 sacks, and like I said, caused some poor decisions from from the young quarterback, and that's going to be the key to success each year or each game for all these teams facing Clemson this next coming year. They're going to have to stack the box, bring pressure a lot, and they'll have no problem winning games, or they'll have no problem keeping the games close. I shouldn't say winning because Clemson has a strong defense, and I do believe in the coaching staff that they'll figure it out. But if the teams that they're going against can keep DJ Uiagalelei under duress, I think that they'll have no problem trying to keep it very close, if not winning the game. It just depends on who they're playing at the time. And with the poor decision making that I've seen from DJ Uiagalelei, I just don't see any improvement coming from him anytime soon. So we'll see what happens. I do think that maybe give him this year, his sophomore year. He may not have the greatest year this next year, but maybe his junior year will be better. But we'll see really what happens there. But the Clemson Tigers have a bunch of multiple big threat tight ends for DJ Uiagalelei to distribute the ball to. It's just, will he get it there is the real question. I think that if the old line holds up and they can prevent Uiagalelei from taking sacks and whatnot, and not making poor decisions and not making him throw on the run, I think he can get it there without a doubt. I just think that the all comes down to whether the O-line can block, if there's a good snap exchange, if he has time in the pocket to progress and really get set to throw, because him on the run is what the teams are going to be looking for this year facing against him. And if they can get him to throw on the run, then the teams will have a field day at the defensive backfield. So, I mean, we'll see. And the lack of depth at the quarterback position is really a problem. Taysom Fumakiana, very hard last name to pronounce, both the quarterbacks for Clemson, but he looked terrible. He looked like a freshman, and I think that it was just really unfortunate that if Uiagalelei, even though he's not the greatest quarterback, I think that they're gonna find a really tough time, finding a replacement for him if he does take an injury or not, which hopefully does not happen. That would be a really tough loss for that team. But this guy is just not even close to Uiagalelei's level, and I still have a lot of concerns about Uiagalelei. He was just throwing bad passes, some real ducks, no arm strength at all, and it just looked like he hadn't played the sport of football ever, honestly. And unfortunately, he did tear his Achilles, and he'll be done for the season. But that really makes you wonder who the backup to that guy is. And so just unfortunate there. But on the bright side, the Clemson Tigers really do have a strong running backfield for their quarterback to hand the ball off to. I mean, it doesn't take a great quarterback to hand the ball off. Lynn J. Dixon is expected to be the starter this year. He had a very good game. Kobe Pace led the running backs with 69 yards on 6 attempts, and Phil Maffa had 38 yards on 6 attempts and a touchdown for the white team. The final score of the game was the white team winning 14-13, which the white team was the first team defense, so the defense wins, I guess you could say. But you also have Will Shipley and Darren Reacher, and Will Shipley was out there. He's only a freshman, and Darren Reacher is a veteran. Will Shipley really is a power back at the perfect example of it. He's running through guys. Hard to believe this guy was playing high school football just a year ago. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you guys have not already, please leave a like down below. Share this to your friends who love college football, and thanks.